Travis Scott is finally getting brand deals again after having been shelved for several years after the tragic incident and death of 10 plus people at his Astroworld festival. And he's coming back with the best marketing campaign of a rapper this year. The first was the collaboration with Audemars Piguet, AP, one of the most esteemed watchmakers in the world, with his own edition. And now his ongoing collaboration with Nike has been rebooted with none other than former tennis star John McEnroe. This started off earlier in June of this year. However, this phase started with a supposed leaked Zoom conference call with the Nike team working on the shoe.
Okay, let's have a bit of a compromise here. Her suggestion is to do a Cactus Mac thing.
But John, somebody on here got correct me wrong, but this is my first time even hearing about this.
I immediately caught on to the fact that this was all orchestrated, as did many others, but my reasoning for it being a whole act, well, Travis Scott being the quiet, reasonable, and emotionally stable person in the exchange pretty much gave it all away. Every single instance we've seen or heard about Travis Scott in disagreements about something creative, he's yelling, screaming, or smashing something. To be fair though, when Tory Lanez ran down on him in his trailer trying to run the fade, he did have this similar energy as he did in the Zoom call trying to defuse the situation, which was 100% a smart and mature move by him. Regardless, this got the requisite attention, and it did make sense. Cactus Mac sounds like a McDonald's collaboration, like Travis said, not a Nike one. So a few people believe the disagreement was right, just overblown. We have also seen promotional pictures of the reboot of the Mac Attack shoe on social media before it was released way back in June, the first time since 1984, with Travis Scott in the promotional campaign, wearing it alongside a Utopia briefcase for the rollout of the album. Also, let's keep in mind that this was leaked by the individual recording Travis Scott in real time, which would never happen with an actual leak because they'd lose their job. It's clear who it was, as opposed to perhaps an audio of a screen recording with no video shown that would make it more difficult to figure out just who did it, which is even more unlikely as well. What followed up soon after was an Instagram page pulled up on John McEnroe in New York City on December 10th, just by luck, or that's what it appears to be, and asking him about what happened. Here he is wearing a Cactus Mac t-shirt, and this Mac Attack sneaker is different from the one released in June as it has the Travis Scott signature reverse swoosh on the outside. And if we pause and zoom in on the back, it says the regular Cactus Jack logo, but with the Jack crossed off and Mac above it. I mean, these old white guys are getting crazy today. Some would call this corporate tagging. Those gang spray painters would be moving like this in a different timeline, or a different lifetime. What comes after? Because there's no way the final sneaker that's released to the public has Jack crossed out of the logo, right? It would seem like the poor representation, at least without any explanation of why. Travis Scott follows up the back and forth by getting caught defacing a plaque of John McEnroe with the Cactus Jack face that we've seen on their merchandise and album releases. This is then followed up by what seems to be the end of the back and forth, with John McEnroe allegedly being the culprit that tagged Travis Scott's vehicle with his name on it. The release date for these on the sneakers app is December 19th, and unfortunately, it says Cactus Jack on the back, so it looks like John McEnroe must have lost the beef. Although I wonder how much that pair that McEnroe had with the Cactus Mac and crossed out Jack is going to go for, if there are even other pairs. The average reaction to this was, it's fake, which after the tagging, of course, was abundantly clear, but the beautiful thing about it was the replies laughing and people enjoying themselves. That's what made this such a beautiful and amazing marketing ploy and rollout for a sneaker, in my opinion. The marketing doesn't have to fool you as the consumer. That's actually less impressive if effective marketing fools you, because for some it leaves a sour taste in their mouth, makes them less likely to trust in the future. And let's keep it real, people are drawn to conflict. Even if the conflict is faked well, keyword well, it is way easier to drum up a ton of attention before creating a quote fake resolution and then dropping whatever product it was, in this case the collab shoe. But to create a fun environment that got the attention anyway, I loved it, because I saw it as a live, ongoing commercial as opposed to some stage beef or something of the like. Let me explain. Remember when The Life of Pablo was released? chaotic album rollout like most of Ye's rollouts in the past 8 years or so. But he changed the game when he began tweaking tracks after they had already been released onto streaming platforms, the infamous "I'ma fix wolves" tweet, making live edits to an album. We got the first ever real insight to an artist at that level, how he operates behind the curtain, usually before an album is finalized and then dropped. So it was a beautiful and memorable experience for me and many of us, even though it wasn't really repeated afterward. In the same way, a commercial is usually very well prepared, scripted, shot. I'm sure you can imagine a commercial of Travis and John arguing Cactus Jack or Cactus Mac. It cuts to each person messing with the other in different scenes, and then them showcasing the final product before the commercial cuts to the release date and final shoot. That's normal. That's standard. And while I wouldn't call it boring, it doesn't continuously hit people's feed and capture their attention in a way that's novel. For something like this, a commercial, you can advertise it such that people see it multiple times, but it's not novel anymore. And there's that age-old marketing principle that a person needs to see a product ad 7 or so times before actually pulling the trigger and buying. So what if we do both in one campaign? So all of these scenes happen in real time, all within 10 days or so. The first leak, it leaves you wondering, is this fake or not? It has to be, right? But you're not 100% sure. Also, you question yourself, well, which one is actually going to drop? You're curious to see the next development. You probably didn't even know a sneaker was coming out. The John McEnroe fit. You're scrolling on your feed and then you see an Instagram personality that fit checks people in New York City all the time and walks up to John McEnroe, who not only talks about the Travis stuff, but shows the Cactus Mac shoe and the t-shirt. You know it's not 100% real now. You know this was an orchestrated collaboration with this Instagram user now as well, but you don't care. And if you do, you shouldn't. You should respect that they catered the marketing to you in such a congruent way to how you consume content. There's still an open loop though. Is it over or not? Is that the shoe that we're going to see? The Travis Scott spray paint and car spray paint, albeit two different instances on different days, but they're a similar event and pretty much the closing of the marketing thus far as I'm writing this on December 15th. It's another update to remind you that the sneaker is dropping without explicitly letting you know that it's dropping. That's 4 different times we've been targeted by an advertisement, albeit not explicit, as part of this campaign. And then there are other posts, of course, the usual ones that post the date and where you can try to buy the shoe. Keep in mind, this was all done, coordinated with largely fan pages, in the span of less than 10 days. It was obviously prepared well ahead of time, but the execution here was flawless. And you have to ask yourself, would you rather just see a basic and regular ad, or have gone through the process of watching this unfold with anticipation of what was going to happen next? I think it was a brilliant play by the Nike team. I believe Travis Scott in large part had direction in the planning of it, because just think of how cool and novel the Utopia rollout was with the briefcases. This isn't the same or even that similar, since album rollouts are an extended process, but if we're going to start seeing certain sneaker rollouts mimic an album rollout, then this is exactly what I want to see more of. And I think it's brilliant. Content meets somewhat reality TV, meets kind of paparazzi-ish catching someone in the act, meets advertising and fashion to revive and rebirth a shoe model that hasn't been released since the 80s. The best marketing doesn't leave anyone feeling duped, and also has them feeling some level of joy or happiness from being marketed to, even if they don't purchase. Make sure to subscribe for more.